welcome to Madame After Midnight. This is a podcast where we talk about life and its many pursuits of sustainable happiness. I'm your host, Madame Donut. Now, a word of warning. If you haven't heard this before, I hope you know that this podcast can make you hungry or horny, but that's okay. So as long as you put the kids to sleep, right? My guest tonight might make you hornier than hungrier, but then again, if I recall it correctly, she is also an amazing baker. So I think that we are just right on theme. My guest tonight is an impressive singer, actor, all-around performer. She's an award-winning writer and director. She is also the executive director of ProArts right here on Maui. Everybody, please welcome my guest, the very beautiful Lin McEwan. Yay! Thank you for joining me.
No,
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Yay! Did you hear your fans just like cheering you on?
oh yes, my fans.
It's the most fun. Thanks for joining me tonight. I know it's like a crazy busy week.
It is, but I'm so happy to see you. I mean, ever since we did a show together, this amazingly talented woman was also in cabaret, so that's where we first met, was doing a show together, and I just love being around you. I mean, it's just joyful being around you, so why would I not want to be?
Right? I mean, at the very least, I know you're going to be having some donuts.
Oh my gosh, yes. Every time I can get some of these donuts, please.
When was the last time I saw you? I know you've come here to pick up some donuts.
Yeah, and I think we run into each other on the Wailuku cross hike.
Oh, that's
sometimes,
right.
Yes. I mean, you're going like 3 times as fast as I am. Like, you just go and I'm like, and there she goes. And I'm still on my way up and she's half the way down, but that's okay. I'm at my own pace. It's fine.
That is
it's
my
fine.
weekly, I don't belong to a gym now, and like I had to like weigh it, right? Like, do I go to a gym when you have limited time? At least if you're outdoors, you get a few things done. You work out, you're outdoors, and you get away from people.
Yeah, I tend to be, I don't belong to a gym either. I just prefer to, I mean, I love hiking and biking and all the things that you can do when you live in, fortunately, a place that is beautiful and sunny all year round.
Allows us to be outside all year round.
Exactly. So yeah.
But
it seems like we kind of have a gym.
Yeah, I mean,
the great
whole
outdoors of
island
Maui.
is,
Yeah.
the whole island is a gym, which is
Yeah.
great. If you want water, you have it, mountains, rivers, you name it. So
Paddleboarding, all that.
yeah. So this week you are preparing, I'm just going to go right into it. You are preparing for an encore weekend performance for like sex with strangers.
Yes, and it is a show.
It
by
is a
the
show.
way. I'm not just preparing for I tell you, the title of the show is the gift that just keeps giving me. The number of comedy, or the amount of comedy that we have gotten out of this title. I think, actually, I'll tell you this, and then I'll actually talk about the show, but when I had to get the couch for this, because, it's 2 people, it's actually about 2 writers talking a lot, and there is some sexy time stuff, so don't bring the kids. But it is not quite as raunchy or tawdry as the title might imply. But we did have to buy this big comfy couch, and I bought it on Craigslist. And of course, I paid the guy via Venmo to make sure that I was going to reserve this couch.
Right.
And of course, for my accounting purposes, I, of course, write the titles of shows in my notes, and I wasn't thinking about the fact that the Venmo app, sends the notes that you write to the person you're buying it from. So I literally wrote couch for sex with strangers. and the director and I went to pick it up. And the guy's just kind of like looking at us, and I said, well, you really should come and check out the performance. It's the show. We're running these 2 weekends. This was on the original run. I said, you should come check it out. And he goes, oh, it's a show.
Oh my God.
And I said, oh my gosh. And I suddenly realized what he said, and he was like, I was just glad it was going to a good home.
That's amazing. Well,
Which you got points for that. So.
Okay, now this is so interesting because when I first, of course, I follow ProArts on social media, and I saw this poster for the show, and I saw you, of course, I know you, and then I saw this guy next to you, and I was like, that's funny. That looks like Dexter I know who works in my kitchen.
Yeah.
And then I look at the name, I was like, he even has the same name. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't realize. So So Dexter actually has a partner, Dane. They
Yes.
make they have this company called Sugar
Cane Dane.
You know, it's so sweet.
Yeah.
Dexter's actually like it's his name because my name does not rhyme with sugar. Sugar cane Dexter doesn't sound as good as Sugar Cane Dane.
It doesn't.
But it was but it was so funny because I told him like I didn't realize you were in this show. I didn't know that he was a performer. Like he's working here.
Yeah, he's an amazing actor, and he's got so much training. And he's just divine to work with on stage. Yeah. He's a giving scene partner. He's just so knows what he's doing. And we only rehearsed this for we rehearsed it for like 3 weeks before the original run. It was only a 3-week rehearsal period because it was just one of those things where we decided like, okay, well, there's this time and the space, and we have this set that we've built, and we don't really need to break it down. You know, what can we do on this?
Yeah.
And somebody else had suggested the show to me, and I thought, oh, well, this show would be great.
Yeah.
And we did it, and I luckily found a director who was crazy enough to work on that timeline and brilliant enough to work on that timeline. If you ever get a chance to work with Ricky Jones, amazing director. But yeah, so we got this really shortened time frame. And I was lucky enough to be cast because, you know, I don't just get cast because I'm the executive director.
Yeah.
I actually go out for auditions. I actually did not get the first thing that I tried out for at ProArts when I was executive director.
Oh, really?
I did not. I was not
What show is that?
It was Streetcar Named Desire. And if you saw Hoku Pavavao in that, who was Ricky's wife.
They were just like
an amazing couple. Amazing. But yeah, it worked out that I got cast and Dex, and it was really wonderful. But I mean, you know, he's so skilled. Dex is such a skilled performer that, you know, even with only a 3-week period, we were able to snap together and get into it.
And you guys were just so natural. Like you have an amazing. Oh, thank you, by the way, because I remember I bought the tickets for another night, and then my friend couldn't make it, and then I had a last-minute trip. I had to go see family, like a family emergency. So I was like, I gotta come see. Well, I wasn't gonna miss it. So thank you for putting me on an amazing VIP seat. Like, holy shit, that was amazing. I was right in front, and I mean, I cried in that show a couple of times. Like, I was just, I'm not gonna say why because I'm not supposed to tell you the like story or whatever, but I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I was so upset with Dexter's character, and he even said to me, it's like, that was just my character. Okay, when I told him that I cried, I was so upset. He's like, that's not me, okay? That was just character. I was like, I know, but I was still upset. But that was magical.
It's one of those shows that's, like, people react really strongly. Like, the funny moments are really funny. The dramatic moments are really dramatic. I definitely, like, you know, I came running here after rehearsal, and I was like, okay, I don't think I have any eyeliner left on, but it's fine. Yeah. It's okay. But yeah, it's you feel all the feels in this one. I mean, it is very funny too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was. And it just, like I said, it felt so real. You guys had this amazing, just you worked so well together. Like, so compatible on stage. It was really, really, really believable. Like I said, I was upset. I was like, God damn it. I know it's a play, but I was really upset. And it's so funny too. When before I went to see the show, of course, he gave me a flyer, and I had the flyer which says "Sex with Strangers" on just here, and I happened to have this gentleman who was here, who I actually had a crush on. He was here for other work or whatever, and then he sees it, and I was like thinking, when I saw him look at it, it's like, oh shit, like he probably thought I was like setting him up.
Like an invitation.
Yeah, I was like what you're saying with the title, it kind of gives you that, like, oh my God, it kind of predisposes you to, I don't know, a little bit of trouble sometimes if it's misunderstood.
Yes. Yeah, yes, I mean, just the conversations I'm constantly having to go, the show.
Yeah, the show.
The show. Sex with Strangers.
And I have to admit, I was playing with it. Even on my post today on social media, I posted, of course, like the provocative pictures because it's funny. Plus, it goes well with my podcast, which, just like your show, has a very, it's almost misleading. You know, it's like Madame After Midnight. But really, I love talking about sustainability, and I love talking about just like I love talking to small businesses and artists, and like I always say, the shakers and makers of Maui that makes it like really awesome island. And it's not really just about my clickbait photos. The clickbait photo is what it is, just like Sex with Strangers. It's a clickbait title.
It is.
That's
the perfect description. I was trying to think of the right way of describing that today. You have come up with it is a clickbait title. That is perfect.
Because it makes people like, what? But then you explain to them, and it really is not disappointing because there's actually substance to it. It's something else if it's clickbait and then there's nothing. But the show itself is really amazing. It's well written, and it's when was this written? Because it's so timely.
Yeah, you know what? That's what's really fascinating to me. I was really curious to see how it would play because it was written, I believe, in 2011. At least it was first produced right around there between 2011 and 2014. And I think it was written in 2011. And that's prior to the whole Me Too thing.
Yeah.
And there's some things that come up in this where I was like, I'm curious to see what the audience will do with this. But I mean, it is clearly takes place in that time.
Yeah.
But I think it's still really relevant.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's very, it feels very relevant to the times. It feels very applicable to, I think, what a lot of people struggle with. Like, and particularly, I mean, honestly, as women, you know, so much of the time even when you respect yourself and you have, you have pride and you know, self-confidence and all of that, you can still find yourself in these very tricky, odd arrangements where you're going,
absolutely.
wait, how have I gotten myself into this situation? You know what I mean? Like,
all the time. And I mean, I totally relate to that because it's almost like, I mean, I'm not going to say I don't like being attractive. I like to put myself out there. It's like, I feel beautiful and I love feeling beautiful. But when we do, it doesn't necessarily mean we're inviting what we get sometimes out of
right.
that.
And I mean, and I don't even mean anything dangerous, but I just mean that sense of like sometimes where you just go, wait a second, why did I let somebody speak to me that way?
Yes,
or something like that. I mean, yes, there's definitely the more dangerous aspects and stuff. But yes, no, I completely agree with you. You're not inviting anything. I think there is something I actually think that there's something around comfort with the body of almost a desexualization of it a little bit, of going,
isn't that interesting?
Why do we have to sexualize everything? Why can't things just be about, like, we've all got these beautiful figures and such, like, you know, let's normalize many, you know, varieties of female beauty. It doesn't have to be that standard
100%.
whatever Victoria's Secret thing
yesterday, 100%. And yesterday when we had to, like, I didn't realize that we had a conflict with their schedule, which was actually perfect because when he's like, oh, I can't do it tonight, I was like, perfect, because one of my friends called me, was like, hey, do you want to go dip in Iao, right, before, beautiful. Like 6 p.m. before they close, before sundown, and we ran there. And because usually by 6 p.m. it's, you know, it's a lot less busy, people are leaving, then we felt comfortable just, she had her bathing suit, but she was just like, didn't feel like getting it wet. So she just went in there topless with her underwear. And of course, I wasn't going to let her go topless by herself, right? So
you had to show support. You had to show solidarity.
So we go, but it was so much fun. But that's just, her and I would totally painted her house in the nude, and we called it nude painting. But it's just us always running around naked at her house or mine. But like what you're saying, desexualizing even nudity. Right, yeah. Because I was running around feeling like almost like a child, really, how it's so freeing. I think I really wish people find that feeling of like liberation of just being in the nude without thinking of sex necessarily.
I completely agree with you because I mean, you know, this is the way that we're born.
We're
and
born,
stuff. And
yeah. We're built this way, okay? And it's also
skin is beautiful.
Skin's beautiful, and sex is also okay. That's very, very normal, but I don't think being in the nude doesn't always mean it's like, I want sex.
I agree.
Like, you know, it's there's a difference. So.
Yes.
But yeah, I love the title of the show because, like I said, it's like clickbait, but then it also brings up that conversation that we just had.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the show, if you saw it, you're not going to talk about sex necessarily.
No, a lot of people came up to me, you know, like in the days following the show. I was really humbled by people's reaction to it. So I'm curious to see what people see a month later, because I guess it's about 2 months since we originally did it, and it was one of those weird things. We've never done this before. We've extended performances before, but we've never done it where there was a gap. And that was partially because I was traveling and because we had Eric Gilliam's brilliant White Hawaiian show booked the following weekend after our original run. But we thought, well, you know what, though? There's this random little weekend where this would plug in and the set's still going to be there. So why don't we put it up again and see if people want to see it? And I'm really glad that people have. But during that initial run, I was really humbled by that. You know, people really came up and said to me like, wow, I've just been processing all this stuff with this former relationship. And it didn't seem to bring things up in a bad way for people. It seemed to be almost cathartic. For a lot of people, which was great. I loved that, like healing through art, which I love.
Well, I definitely felt like I was healing through that. Like I said, I was upset. There's like an element of trust that I kind of have issues with that kind of was brought up by watching that. Like, why would you do that? Like, I trusted you. Like, this is me. I'm like, trusted you, God damn it. You know, and I mean, that's what's amazing about art, right? In general, like it brings up certain feelings or certain like experiences in your past that sometimes you don't even realize that it's still there.
Yeah.
Oh
gosh, yes.
Yeah, I was having an okay day. No, it was an amazing play. I highly recommend it, you guys. And what's really cool about it, and I read it somewhere where like some of the reviews where it said that even if you don't like theater, you will like this, and I agree. I got a lot of that. Of a lot of people came in who had never seen theater before, and this is more filmic a little bit. It's very intimate. It's very for stage.
Yes, it's very realistic. It's hyper realism. So it's a little bit of a gentler acclimation to live theater than like, oh, people are now singing in the middle of life, which I love too, as you know. I love bursting into song in the middle of To Express.
Why not? I mean, don't we do that in real life? I think we do. I do.
You know, this is the funny thing. I think theatrical people, actually, we do these things. Like, I think when you cannot tell me that when you are baking in here by yourself that you're not going, I'm making my
oh my God,
I'm making my donuts.
The freaking time. There's a lot of singing and dancing in the donut making. Okay, I mean, people who actually watch me, they see that sometimes. I just, like, I can't help it. And actually, I have strobe lights in this set that actually belong to the donut freaking kitchen. Like, I would have like strobe lights while I'm making donuts. It's insane. And I dress up sometimes, like when I make up, like I'm by myself at some point. I'm like, I'm gonna dress the way I want. I've worn like not quite a gown, but like it looks like I was going to a big party or whatever with like flour on my chest while making donuts or frying donuts. But
I love that so much. I use when nobody else is there and I have to like sweep the ProArts stage. I'm like, I'm sweeping. I'm totally singing along.
I actually think it really makes life so much more colorful, and I think that's why I like theater people, because we're very, I say we, like I've only done one show, but I relate to that.
Oh,
like,
she's a theater person. Don't. She is a theater person.
Here's the thing: is because
you're in now. You're in the cult.
Because I never trained in it. I always felt a little like, what the hell are they saying? But I always loved watching theater. Like, I like being just in it and watching it. And
well, I'm roping you back in as soon as I'm just.
You did say that.
I'm letting you know that the minute Six the Musical, the rights to that become available, I am roping you back in. You will be singing on the ProArts stage when the rights to that become available.
The last time I was at ProArts, other than your show, I was actually speaking. So I've been on that stage, so I feel like, okay, I like it.
And you were marvelous.
Oh, thank you.
That was a really wonderful and inspiring talk that you gave. I was up there just doing the little lights and that stuff, and I was going, this is great. This is a great talk. This is very inspiring.
I was actually surprised that they invited me, because I was like, what does donuts have to do with real estate? But it was really about just owning your own business and making it your own and being authentic about your work. So I was like, and I've heard that a lot too with people who have nothing to do with donuts, who liked what I do, not necessarily just because of the donuts, but because of my passion for it. And like some people sometimes like, you're just going through the motions of working, but then if you really put your heart and soul into it, it just means so much more. It's not work anymore.
Well, and I think you're one of those people who kind of your sort of your being is very inspiring. You're so full of joie de vivre, joy of life.
Honestly,
And
I don't know where
that's
it comes
inspiring.
from, but but thank you. I really do enjoy. I try to choose to do only things that make me feel full and happy.
Yeah, and I think there's I think
short
I've
life.
always been very grateful, and I'm sure you're this way. Like my kind of default setting is joyful. Like,
Yes,
I tend
yes.
to very quickly whenever I'm down or anything like that, I go back, and that's not everybody's default setting, and I'm
No.
incredibly grateful
Yeah.
that is that I'm just kind
Yeah.
of in that place of even when times get rough that I tend to go back towards that, and it's a beautiful thing to like share that to try and share
Yes.
that with people
Yeah.
because it's not that true for
It's
everyone.
not normal for everybody for whatever reason, whether it be responsibilities or, obviously upbringing and what they need to prioritize in life. But I think it's also self-responsibility to make sure that you're joyful. Now that we're talking more about mental health and like taking care of yourself, like I feel like it's always been there, but it wasn't a conversation for most everybody that they're comfortable to bring up.
Yeah,
But
I'm so glad that's changing,
Yeah.
particularly in this era because I just feel like, COVID times are so rough on
for
people.
everybody.
Yeah.
So the executive director position was created for you. Is that correct?
Well, kind of, yeah. I started in because it was going to become less of just the artistic focus, as also just the business focus. But I was actually before that I was actually the administrative director of a substance abuse facility.
Yes.
So I've worked adjacent to. I've never been a clinician myself. I would never in a million. I don't have that strength in me to do that. But yeah. So mental health stuff is definitely very important. And honestly, I think the arts can be incredibly helpful in that regard too. I mean, I think about it when it was so strange that during the whole pandemic when we were shut down and it was like this idea of that the arts are essential, and I'm like. That's how people
was
are making it by. Like you're binge reading books or you're binging watching things. People were coming up with these amazing creative endeavors online that just being so innovative, and that's how people were like surviving and such. So I think the arts is so essential, and particularly for mental health.
I actually think that's when people discovered it more.
Yeah.
That it was really important. Like,
Yeah.
It was set aside. I mean, when you think about it, the last decade or so, even in schools, one of the first things that when they had budget cuts that were taken out were arts, music, sports. That I think is actually essential in making a human being human.
Yes.
Instead of a damn robot.
Well, it's one of those things when they've studied addiction. It's interesting because they used to do this study where they would like put two rats in a cage, and there would be a bottle with some heroin in the water, and there would be a bottle with no heroin in the water. And guess what? They always went to the heroin.
Yeah.
But then somebody said, "Well, wait a second. What if we give them a huge rat maze? What if we give them almost like a rat city?" And they've got all these things that they can do and be active and all that. And then let's see. And yes, there were some rats that went back, but the proportion was so incredibly different because, people go to things when they can't engage, when they can't be active. And I'm not saying there's not, believe me, the addiction issues are so much more complicated than that. But there is something to the fact that like when people have outlets, I think it's a strange thing that we get to when we're older of going like, oh, that you grow up and you just work. And it's like, no, you have to address all the different sides of yourself as being human. Like keep playing a sport that you love or keep acting in something or find something to do that if you've got your kids, like involve them because we just expect people to be so robotic and that's not the way people are and it's not good for us.
Yeah, I think it's sad, but we kind of exalt that kind of attitude about work.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm guilty of that myself.
Oh, and I was going to say, you and I definitely work way too much.
We're workaholics, you know.
Yes, a little bit.
I always say I'm a recovering workaholic because I had to retrain myself. And to me, the pandemic was a good time for like a switch or at least just like a check because we were all forced not to work the way we were working. And I mean I talk about this now. I didn't talk about it for a long time, but I got divorced literally a week before the world shut down. So it was like major
gosh.
like, wait, what? Like I'm working like anywhere between 16 to 20 hours a day to nothing, and I lived with this guy for 15 years to like nothing. It was just like, what the hell just happened?
Wow.
So it was like an interesting, whoa, like, what do I do? Like, I had to find myself again, and I mean, I'm good. I'm strong. It was a peaceful for me. It was like it was my decision. So I've mentally prepared myself for that change, just not all that change all at once.
Yes, it's a gradual.
Yeah.
When you love your job so much,
Yes.
it is a hard thing
It was, yeah.
to not be a workaholic when you do something that's so fulfilling. And it's more like a calling, which I definitely feel like
Yeah.
in my world it is. It does feel like a calling more than anything.
Because, well, it's funny that you said that it's a calling, because it's not really just the acting part and the performing part that you do now. I mean, you're
Oh gosh, I don't almost ever do that. Actually, this is very unusual. This was like man, at the end of COVID, I could really use a creative outlet because it was just such work. No, mostly I run the place. So this is actually an unusual thing, and I probably won't be on stage again. I mean, I'll do a little one-off. I'll pop up. Yeah. We do these amazing burlesque cabaret and cocktails comes and does things. I love like singing a song in that or doing a little one-off here and there, like appearing in something, but doing a full-length show now, it'll probably be a few years.
I saw that you posted that this is going to be one of your last ones for the next couple of years or so.
Yeah, it's an all-consuming job, and I really can't I can't always do that. It really worked out beautifully timing-wise. I've got a wonderful I literally call him my lieutenant producer. I just made up that title because I was like, well, he's my lieutenant. That's what he is. Yeah. That's what I've called him anyway, so I'm just going to keep calling him that. Keegan Otterson, who is amazing. And it just was good timing and giving him a little bit more space to figure out his role and all that. And yeah, I just needed a few weeks. And it was such a short rehearsal period that I was like, okay, I can justify this. Yeah. I can justify this. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, it's not something I can do that often because the job has a lot.
Yeah, but I love how your calling basically came after like the years of performing and all that, and I feel like just like even with sports, right? You could be an athlete and maybe one day become a coach, and I feel like you're becoming more of that, like you're running the theater for other people to start performing more and giving I guess the path like for other people to
I mean
what you've done.
I mean that's what it's all about, really. I mean I feel like running a nonprofit on Maui, it's so important that it really is a nonprofit, that it really is a stage for the community. I mean, that's why, when we did the area thing that you spoke at, I mean, I love having nonprofit organizations come up and present something that maybe you wouldn't think necessarily being in the theater, but it's a great opportunity. I love trying different things. We're trying this show that's going to go up on September 23rd. It's really going to be fascinating. It's called White Rabbit, Red Rabbit. And it's no director, no rehearsal, and a different actor every night.
Whoa.
And the actor has no idea what's going to happen until they walk out on stage in front of the audience. And I'm so excited because they did this in New York and LA and all sorts of places with like Nathan Lane and Whoopi Goldberg and, Darren Criss and all these, movie stars and stuff have done this. And people I know who have seen it have just been like, it's wow. Yeah. But it's really outside of the box for Maui. But you know what?
But we have so many amazing talent here, though.
We do.
Like, it's crazy.
We have such an incredible batch of talent here, and I just feel like every now and again you got to give them something really like wacky and fun to play with.
Who's going to be in it? Do you...
Let's see. We've got Hoku Pavao as well as Ricky Jones.
Yeah,
Hoku is starting it. Ricky's ending it. We've got Franny Tawa. We've got Kathy Collins. Keegan Otterson is doing one night. Mark Beltzman, who is an improv, big improv guy. We've got so many people. Dale Button. It's a total group of like 14. Brian Connolly. It's a lot of people I can go on listing, but I mean, it's basically, I cannot wait to see the different things that people do, and I really hope that audiences will be like, might check it out once and then go, well, now I want to see what that person does with it.
So wait, do they have? Is there like a set theme or like a story?
There is a script in a brown envelope waiting for them on a table when they walk in and they open it.
And it's different
and
for each
they go. No, it's the same script, but none of the actors, so they can't have watched each other. Yeah. They can only watch it after they've been in it. You are not allowed to perform in this piece
I love it.
Unless if you have either seen it or performed in it, you are not allowed to be in it.
Oh my
So
God.
I know, I'm so excited. It's really something unusual and different. And then, we're like planning a magic show, and we've got amazing music. We've got John Cruz, and Kanakawa plays regularly. We've got Eric Gilliam's White Hawaiian. So we really try and put as many different things, I love it actually. Do you know Pono Akiona? He's this amazing beatboxer. And the first thing that I think maybe the very first thing that we did when we reopened from COVID was we had the Hawaii Beatboxing Championship. It was definitely one of the very first things. It was a competition with beatboxers, and he just won the title of American champion.
Shut up.
Like nationwide champion. He just won.
I mean, I know it exists, but I guess I'm just not really aware of the scene.
And they do this amazing sellout show that I was like, okay, we're going to put on a beatbox show. I have no idea what this is going to be like. And it was incredible. And and I think they're having another one. They might have just had it, or they're about to have it at the playground. But I mean, this is what I mean. You can just... The space you can use for all sorts of things and bring all sorts of art.
Is this something that's new with ProArts since you started running the theater? Because it used to be just more plays. Is that what it is?
Well, I mean, I think you're always like standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Yeah. Like the original founders did an incredible job. Christy Scott did such an amazing job. Like some of the plays that were put on while she was going, it's just, you're always building. But we did expand a little bit more. There was almost always comedy and burlesque and theater, like those always three things. Stand-up comedy, some improv, and that. We've expanded much more in the regard to music. Music has become much, much more essential with what we do, and we've really adapted the room so that it's a listening room. It's really different from any other space. That's the amazing thing of what you said about that so many people are sort of getting into the arts post-COVID. I feel like the arts scene on Maui is thriving more than ever. There are more venues and performers, and just there's so many amazing things happening all the time. But I think that's the importance of making ProArts, making sure that we know our lane, we know our niche, and we are a listening room. We are a place where you sit down and you listen to the music.
Yeah, because it's much smaller, it's more intimate.
Yes.
I actually always kind of thought of that too. Like, I love that space for that reason. Like, obviously, I love EO Theater, and MAPA comes up with the bigger, more amazing big productions. That's more Broadway style, and it's huge, and it's amazing. Like, just visually more amazing usually because they have the big stage,
right.
But ProArts to me was like, it really feels like community theater. And I love how, I'm just imagining it to be like one of those venues for, we don't have enough, like, I don't know, I'm saying it's like jazz music, that's like, we need a venue for more intimate small concerts.
Yeah, and we fortunately have our baby grand and stuff, so jazz fits in beautifully there. And I also love hearing artists that play all over Maui that you've probably heard, like, this weekend we were really lucky. We had Brown Chicken, Brown Cow, who play all over the place. They have these amazing concerts where everybody's dancing like crazy. But the show they did for us, it's almost like doing an MTV Unplugged. I'm dating myself. I know that shows how old I am. But I am that old, so I'm owning it. It's fine.
Yeah, I love that. I feel the same. Like I always say, I was like, when I mentioned something that these kids kind of look at me, it's like, I was like, I don't care. I'm still gonna outrun you the mountain anyways. Yeah. You can't tell me that I'm too old.
Oh yes, like I have no problem. I'm like, you can call me auntie. It doesn't bother me at all because I don't care.
I love being an auntie. Actually,
I actually love it too. I do. I do as well. Actually, it was so funny because all the beatboxers all called me Auntie Lin, and it was adorable because they were all like 19 to 22, and I was like, hello, littles. Like, you're so cute.
I love being an auntie because I feel like I skipped the responsibility of being the mom.
Yes, exactly.
I like it. And I always say, like, Asian people, like, we don't age. We go from 19 to 91, so we skip middle age, so it's kind of the same
You're
thing
allowed
with
to say
auntie.
That. I, on the other hand, am ginger.
I'm allowed to say that. I always say that too.
I, on the other hand, am ginger.
You're
living
so
on Maui,
ginger.
so I walk around with like this hat that is like this large, just protecting and I wear like long sleeves when I hike, and I'm constantly covered. I'm covered head to toe in sunblock. Like it takes me about a half an hour to get ready for the beach. I just stand naked in my bathroom, like just head to toe, slathering.
Where? When did you move to Maui?
I moved to Maui 8 years ago. Actually,
Oh, that's it?
it is funny. Today is the day that marks that I have lived here longer than I lived in New York. Which was, I lived in, I'm from Baltimore, and I grew up there. So that's still the place that I've got the most, because, 18 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just crossed the line of having lived in Maui longer than I lived in New York, which is 8 years. 8 years and 3 months now.
I want to say the same thing. Yeah, Maui, I lived longer than San Francisco, which I think I'm almost going on 12 years here.
Oh, and I did technically live in Jersey City. New Yorkers are very...
Oh my God!
Very particular.
Yeah.
If you say that you lived in New York, you better have actually. I did briefly, but I mostly lived in Jersey City. But yeah, no, same. And it's so funny, because, going from being such a city girl for a long time.
I lived
and now
in
I'm
New York too, but I lived in New York for, well, God, forever ago. But I lived in New Jersey for like 6 months until I moved to the city.
Okay.
And for a couple of years, and then I moved to LA briefly. I didn't really like living in LA. I hate driving too much.
Oh, yeah.
So... And I just didn't like the scene there, because coming from New York, where it's like, it's more, it's just close, and I love the theater, and just, I like it when people can say what they're thinking in your face. And then when I moved to LA, it was just such a different kind of people. It was a major culture shock for me.
I've only visited, too much driving. I've had people laugh at me for the fact that, like, I complain about driving here. Like, I'm like, oh, such a long drive.
I do feel that way.
They're like, it's 30 minutes to Makawa. And I'm like, I know, but I live 5 minutes from the theater and I bike.
Do you live in Kihei?
I do. And it's funny because I never really thought that I would like living in Kihei. Because I was kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
I like, it's okay. But I love living in Kihei. Yeah. It's so great living close to the theater because I bike or walk there most of the time.
Yes.
And I love getting in the water all the time, which I get in the water way more living in Kihei than I did. And I loved upcountry. I mean, I loved upcountry. And probably Wailuku will always be my favorite.
I love living here in Wailuku. I lived in Kihei. I lived in Maui Meadows when we first moved here. And it was a perfect time to live there at the time because I worked in the resorts. I worked at Kealani and Hotel Wailea. So my ex-husband and I, we shared a moped for the first year that we lived in Kihei. So it was perfect because I can walk to work if I needed to. Yeah. And coming from the city, I was fine walking. It was so funny though because when I first moved here, people would stop in a highway to like ask me if I needed a ride, and I look at them, I was like, why? Because nobody apparently walked from and it was
definitely not along the highway. I mean, that's a little risky with driving.
But see, I did because I don't know, it was from Maui Meadows to Hotel Wailea. I didn't think anything of it, but people would always stop. So finally, after a year of people stopping to ask me, I got myself a motorcycle, so then I could at least ride. So for over 2 years, we didn't own a 4-wheel vehicle, and we always joked about like, we have 4 wheels, 2 for you, 2 for me, and it worked. And then we started the like Donut Dynamite, and then we needed a trailer, so we're like, oh my God, now we have to get a car. And we didn't own a car for years, so it was kind of interesting. But
I have a car that I treat like the ProArts truck.
Yeah.
My mechanic's always like, what are you doing to this vehicle? I'm like,
I'm so sorry. The couches for sex with strangers or random lights and all these.
I've put a refrigerator in that. I put a 1950s refrigerator in that thing. It weighed a ton. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I really don't know. But, hi.
But so you've been the executive director of ProArts for at least 2 years now, right?
It's coming up on 3 because,
3 years.
time... has lost all meaning with COVID, and we were closed for 16 months of that. But we've just crossed, being open again for a full year afterward. But so I've been running it for 3 years now. Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, to think about.
And are you liking this?
Oh I love it. I love it so much. I mean, it's hard. Yeah. It's definitely a challenge, but I consider myself so lucky. Yeah. To be able to do something that I love. Yeah, so very much, and just see. Like, I'm sure, your donuts are so good. I know you get to see people, what you're doing, make them happy. And just, seeing somebody come out of something and just go, wow, man, John Cruz just gave me all the, wow, I needed that. And getting that release at the end of their day, I letting people escape through art or letting them process something or feel something that's hard to feel, but that they they needed to. And there's just something wonderful about that.
Yeah, I think it's so important. It's like even when we did cabaret, and I remember people were crying coming out of the theater, and I was just thinking, oh my God, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And to be a part of that and to deliver that to people. I mean, I do that every weekend with the donuts. I literally, yesterday actually I get this email, just somebody telling me that they come to Maui just because of the donuts. They live in Lanai. And I'm just like, wow, like, thank you. That's all. He's like, that's
wow.
it. Like, I just want to say, just me and my wife just love your donuts. It used to be that we go to Maui for that, for running errands.
Yeah.
And then since we discovered your shop, the dynamics have changed where, we come to Maui for the donuts, and if you can fit in errands, great. And I was just like, really? That's all what the email was about.
I love that.
Yeah, right. And I'm sure like you get that through theater and what you do and how we move people through art and food. Like I always say,
I think food is an art myself.
Well, I mean,
it can be. It's not when I make it.
No, you're a great baker.
I'm a decent baker. Cooking is a whole other thing, but it's art when you do it.
Oh, thank you. But it is like you connect people through food. As far as like to me, that's been my experience. My connection with the community has always been through food, and I think we touch people in a different level through food and art, and that's why I say this podcast can make you hungry or horny. I sometimes cannot tell the difference because it's the same feeling. It's like this like oh my God, that craving for something, and then when you have it, it's like I'm so satiated. I'm gonna take a nap now. I love that feeling.
I'm blushing.
You're blushing. So you're from Baltimore originally, and when did you start getting into theater? Because you've been performing for quite a while. You were a singer in a band even before you did theater.
Yeah, I was. My first foray into theater, there were two. I think it's the low voice. I've sounded like this since I was like 11.
Yeah.
I think that my first foray into the theater was really strange. They did like they did Hamlet when we were 9.
Whoa.
It was
like
fifth grade or something, and they were doing like scenes from Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And it was Hamlet, and they did Hamlet. So it was really funny. Me and a boy split the role of Hamlet because he couldn't remember all the lines. And it was totally random. And then my second real thing was being Santa Claus.
You were Santa Claus? Okay.
Yes.
Why?
In 8th grade.
Why?
Because none of the boys' voices had changed yet, and I've sounded like this since I was 11.
Oh my God.
So I was the only one who could do a good ho ho ho. Which was ridiculous, but ended up being rather serendipitous because I broke my leg and I had a walking cast at the time of the show, but my dad was a fireman, so he had big old feet. So I just took his big old fireman boot and stuck it over my walking cast and was Santa. But I was literally Santa Claus.
That is so crazy. That is
just
so funny.
like really a thing to do to a kid. Like, going like, I still remember looking at the cast list and going,
why?
I think they made a typo.
You know what though? I was a turkey in like a play and when I was a kid. So
yes,
but then we were all animals, so that's probably fine.
Santa. Beard. Literally like a big beard and a big jolly belly and going ho ho ho.
And like you're very slim. That sounds like you're slim female. Like why are you Santa of all things?
I mean, I think I should reprise it sometime. I should be Santa Claus again.
I was an elf in real life.
Where are you?
When I lived in New York, one of my Christmas gigs was like I worked at Macy's.
Oh, I love that. You were probably the cutest
I was a perfect elf. I loved it actually because then I get to play with the kids. You know what I mean? Like I was just out there, and I mean, oh my God, that just reminded me. That was actually an interesting job because I got one of Santa's fired. That is kind of This
Don't watch at home, kids.
Yeah, this is an adult podcast, so we can talk about the bad Santa.
Yes, I think there's other things we would have won. Like if you're already at this point, yeah.
So so basically, so I was an elf, and then before maybe 3 p.m. or something, before the kids come out of school, it's still a little quiet.
Yeah.
And all the elves, you've probably been to Santaland at Macy's, right?
Yeah, of course.
And we had like 6 Santa houses to basically you manage the line of kids to come and get their pictures taken.
Trying to keep them vaguely entertained while they're just like sitting there going, wow.
Yeah, and they don't realize which Santa house that they went to, so that they don't know that there's 6 of them. So they only know that there's only one Santa, right? So as an elf, if you're in the line, you're going to manage the line. So you're going to distract them if the other kids went to this house and the other one went to that house. You know, it just... So anyways, sometimes you're the photo elf, which means you're in the Santa house with Santa. You're taking the pictures or managing the kids, right? So one time I was a photo elf with Santa, and it was just before it was busy. And so Santa was like, hey, elf, sit on Santa's lap. Tell me what you want. My God. No. Yeah, so he's like, what do you want for Christmas? And me, I'm just a kid, okay? I'm really just a kid. So I get so excited, like, to sit on Santa's lap and just tell him what I wanted for Christmas, right? I mean, this is the thing. It was really innocent and so annoying. We were talking about how do we find ourselves in this position where you didn't ask for it, right? I was, first of all, dressed as an elf. I didn't think anything was sexy about it.
Yeah.
So I sit on his lap, and before you know, I felt his hand kind of like go up towards my sides. But I didn't even think anything of it because I was still thinking it was real Santa.
Because you don't even... You're like, wait, this can't be.
Yeah, I was still thinking it's Santa. So, like, I moved his hand, and I kept talking. I was like, what? Da-da-da. You know, like I said, I'm still a kid to this day. And then again, his hand, and that's when I realized that, holy shit, this fucker. Sorry. Well, I can say that. It's went down after midnight because they fuck. So anyway.
Go for it.
Yeah. Finally, I was like, well, that's like fucked up. But I was fresh off the boat. Right, I was young, and I was probably 19. I don't even remember. Like, I was 19 maybe, and it's like I was away from home basically. I was living with my boyfriend then, but I was just like, you know, really still innocent and didn't know what to do with that. And so I started crying, and I was telling another elf. This is so funny because it almost sounds like a silly movie. You're in an elf costume crying about Santa taking advantage of you. You know, it's almost like not real.
The sad thing is it's not silly because this stuff happens constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry you went through that.
I know, it was like pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
So I told this other elf, and she's like, oh my God, I heard that same thing about that.
Oh.
That, you know, some other like elf was saying. And so anyways, then she felt that I should report him. And so I did, and because there were already other complaints about him, he got fired immediately. And that day, I remember being in the locker room, and he's just like taking his Santa costumes off. It's just, again, it's so weird to imagine this is really happening with the costumes, and he's like, yeah. And then he looked at me, he's like, bitch, at me. I was so scared, and I had to, since then I would go home. I wouldn't go home alone. I always had to walk home with somebody because I didn't know what to expect, you know. But yeah,
well, I commend you for the bravery of even doing that because, you know, I mean, I completely understand why some people, when they go through something like that, they can't even process it enough.
Yeah.
To do something, but I really applaud you for taking that step so that he couldn't just do that to the next.
And this was before again the Me Too movement where women felt for the most part like that was just how it was.
Yeah.
You know, and it was interesting, and it was an interesting introduction to living in an adult world sometimes. I felt like I was so sheltered before then. So, but it was good. I think it's character building, and as you know, you lived in New York, and I think a lot of people who live in New York always say you gotta live in New York at least once in your life because I think it's character building.
Well, I think it's character building in that what you chose to do with it. I don't think that, you know, like, yes, it happening to you, definitely not necessary or character building, but what you chose to do with it and the way that you chose to approach it. I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I'm glad that I made that decision to report him. But it's still funny to say these days that I got Santa fired.
Yes, funny. I mean, it's good. You know, it's funny oftentimes, like...
It's really funny now.
I mean, what did, gosh, I can't even remember who said it, but somebody said, you know, that, like, the comedy, the greatest comedy, usually comes out of tragedy. It's out of just looking at these, oftentimes awful things that are happening and being able to look. I mean, I think so much about some of the stuff that's happened to me over the years, and now I have a great sense of humor about some of the craziness, but... It's like at the time it sure as hell wasn't funny, but
well,
you know.
You've been performing for a very long time, and it has its own, like, obviously it's fun, it's great, it's rewarding, but what do you feel like having performed many years in the band and theater and all that, like, what do you feel, I mean, if there's anything that you wish, if any, didn't happen, and I don't mean anything personal, but like how hard, because it's hard. I talked to Patty and a few other performers about this. Like sometimes it's the art's so weird because even if you know you're talented, it's such a strange industry to be in. How do you feel successful? Even if you are successful, like up to a point, like what does it mean? Because sometimes people want a different kind of success, like major stardom, or sometimes in theater you're just happy to be in theater, right? Like so, how do you navigate that? Like how do you get to success and even find it?
I mean, I think it's honestly it's the same thing that you were talking about of success being in finding your own joy in something, because I moved to New York, or New York and Jersey, not right after graduating from college. I worked for a year in Little Italy, raising waitressing and earning money in order to move. But I had no idea what I was doing. And I just wanted to, I tried a million different things. I tried voiceover, and I tried writing, and I tried acting and singing and all of that. And I wish I'd been much more focused and everything. But I stopped feeling the joy at some point for it. And that's why I left, because it was like, this isn't fun anymore. And why are you going to do something that's so hard if you're not enjoying it? The whole point of this stuff is the joy. And then it was really strange that I just kind of found my way back into it. I was living in the Virgin Islands for a couple of years. I actually, after living in New York and Jersey, went and traveled around the world for a year, just because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to see the world a bit.
Yeah.
So I sold almost everything I owned, and I packed a little 40-liter bag, put a few things in storage, and headed to South America. And I headed to South America and Southeast Asia and Australia, New Zealand, and it was amazing.
So you found your way anyways, and just through traveling and time? Or?
At the end of traveling, my sister lived in the Virgin Islands, and she still does. She's been there for like 15 years, and I went, and of all places to discover, like there was this little theater, and my friend said, "Hey, we're doing this show. Will you come try out to be my sister?
Yeah,
I'm playing the lead, and will you come be my sister in this part?" And I said, "Sure." And then they cast me as her part, gave her the sister, and she was totally cool about it. It was really sweet of her. She was amazing. Yeah. But the dynamics did just work that way better. It wasn't that I was a better actor. It was just the dynamics worked better that way. And it like reinvigorated it, just doing it for the love. And then when I moved to Maui, smacking your microphone a while. When I moved to Maui, right when I got here, it almost felt not meant to be, because do you know Doug DeBoer and Jessica DeBoer? They do like a lot of the lights and stuff for Art Mix and all that sort of thing. He's a great filmographer or photographer, what have you. And I sublet from them for like a week when I first moved here. I had like a bag with me when I moved here.
You just moved here on your own?
With my ex. We moved here together. He was like, "Do you want to move to Maui?" And I was like,
"Yeah, why not?" From the Virgin Islands.
From the Virgin Islands, and I figured I'll try it for a year.
And
I'll move home right after that.
Yeah.
And then within that first weekend, Jessica said to me, she said, "A friend of mine's in this show. I know you said you like theater and stuff. Do you want to go?"
She didn't even know you studied theater.
I mean, she didn't know that I had done a couple things. We had talked a little bit, and we went to see Legally Blonde at the EO, and it was amazing. Yeah. Casey Hughes knocked me on my ass, and there was all these amazing people where, yes, was it community theater? Was it welcoming to people of all skill levels and everything? Yes, but there was so much incredible talent, and it was like, and it's this big, beautiful theater, and I went, where am I? Like, community theater in Baltimore is like it's like in a gym. Yeah. It's like in a middle school gym. You're putting up some like theater with some cardboard sets and stuff. And I was like, well, this is like a real set on a real theater. And I just fell in love with it, and I started doing about a show a year. I did Addams Family. It was Morticia, and I did Cabaret. And
Cabaret was your
Cabaret was 2018. No, it was like my 6th. Okay. I did a few things. I did a comedy. I played a German stewardess.
Yeah.
Boing, boing.
Boing, boing, yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
But, a couple dramas and a couple musicals and all that. And then Cabaret, which honestly, between Cabaret and Sex with Strangers, those are probably my two favorites.
An amazing production. I feel very fortunate and lucky that I got in there. Like, when they called me back, I thought they just wanted donuts. I really did. That's what I was telling everybody.
They're just
like,
casting you for your donuts.
Yeah, I really thought that. I was like, they just want I don't know. It was like so
have you heard your voice?
Well, it's actually interesting because I do
all heard your
karaoke,
voice?
right? I love doing karaoke. And I posted a little something, and between you and Sarah, you guys was like, you should do more of that. You should sing more. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should. So now I kind of do it regularly, like I post a little something, and I definitely sometimes think like I should definitely. It's just time to.
Oh gosh, it's time consuming doing these things.
But I definitely wanna. I feel like I wanna do a show. But again, like I don't know what you're saying. Theater takes so much time, and most of the shows, I mean, all of the shows happen on a weekend, and that's the only time I'm open making donuts. So it has to be like, okay, I have to, I have to. I have to plan.
It has to be the perfect. It has to be the right show.
Yeah. It has to be the right
Which
show.
I've got
I
the
know
right
that.
show
I know. You're so
Just not yet.
Yeah,
but I've got it.
But kind of like what you're saying, you don't have to do it all the time. There is a love for it, so I will go back and do something.
I mean, there is one this season that's coming up. It is 6 women singing all the greatest songs from Broadway.
Yeah,
but
when do you think it's gonna be? Because you said it's it's licensed, right? And you can't really use a lot of these shows. Are you talking about 6?
No. 6 is, because 6 is actively running on Broadway. When something's actively running on Broadway, no. But there is a show that we're doing in the spring that's a review. It's a musical review. It's not, it's a cabaret.
Yeah.
A cabaret, not cabaret.
Right.
I'm looking at the wrong camera. But it is a musical review, and it's called Broads of Broadway, and it is Ali Shore brilliantly wrote it and directed it, and is going to direct again. And Kim Vetterly did a masterful job.
I love her.
Oh gosh, yes. And she strung the music together so beautifully. And it is 6 women singing all of the like big belty numbers from Broadway. So you'd be really good.
We'll see what's going on.
Get you out for auditions.
It was so much fun.
Stay tuned. You all should all write in and be like, yes, we want to see you in a show.
Is this going to be at ProArts?
It is, it's going to be in the spring. As long as we're just working on the musical director thing. It's gotten tricky because, there are so many amazing artists and there are so many talented people, but it's also tricky in, people also move off island. Yeah. And there's weird things where you'll have a whole bunch of people who are, sometimes you'll have a whole ton of actors and not a ton of production crew. Other times you'll have like no music directors, but tons of musicians. And it's always kind of a hodgepodge and a making it work and figuring it out. And I always go back to that line in Shakespeare in Love that, and I'm going to butcher it, but I do, when the character just says, theater, it's on the constant path of just absolute disaster. Yeah. He says, well, what happens? He goes, nothing. It all somehow all turns out well.
Yeah, see, that's right.
And it is. It's just, a series of catastrophic events constantly on the way to like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a disaster. And somehow this amazing show happens. And that's what's so cool about it.
Well, like going back to cabaret, and we talked about this, we talked about this before, and just before tonight's podcast, you were sick. That was the last weekend of performances, and like you lost your voice. You can't even speak, right? Like I can't even hear you speak, and I was like thinking, holy shit, how are you gonna sing? And I remember you saying, I'm so sorry, and then they're like, no, you just go out there and just do your thing. And it gives me goosebumps because I cried in the dressing room thinking and listening to you. I was like, holy moly, like gives me goosebumps, literally chicken skin, just thinking about how you performed that night and how you did that. I had even more respect for you after that because you gave it your all, and when you
strangely ended up being my best performance of that song.
Amazing.
It was so funny.
Amazing. It felt so real because the character, she's kind of fucked up anyway.
That kind of. Yeah, I mean, all love and empathy for Sally Bowles.
Yes.
Like, I feel her, but yes, she's messed up.
Like, even if that wasn't on the script for her being sick, like, yeah, of course she'd be sick. She's partying all the time, and she's like on drugs and everything. What do you expect? She's not going to be healthy all the time.
I actually had somebody, because I had to make it clear that she has a coke habit, and the character, not me. But
like sex with strangers is just a
right,
play.
just a play.
Yes, just a play.
But yeah, and I actually had somebody go, because my voice, as you said, my speaking voice was almost, I was like this.
Yeah.
By the end of the show, it was just going like this. And somebody thought it was me intentionally imitating somebody who's been doing way too much coke.
Which is amazing acting.
And I was like, yes. That was exactly what happened.
I'm a method actor.
That's what I was doing.
Even when I'm not on stage anymore, I'm still talking like the character.
I will still say one of my all-time favorite moments in that, when people get very involved in theater, which Sex with Strangers has motivated that. We've had like very vocal people in the audience, which is not really common in theater. You don't usually have, like, you have people applauding and wooting, but you don't usually have people like actually speaking in the middle of the show. And I will never forget, because I had to pretend to do that. And it's in front of that mirror, but the mirror that wasn't there.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm leaning, and I do that, and this man who is like 5 rows into the audience, just in the middle of the show, goes, she's on drugs. She's on drugs.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And keeping in the scene after that was one of the hardest things.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, just gonna... And
people were actually very vocal in that show. I
I
actually remember somebody. Yeah, actually, there were some reactions that were like
that last
pretty
one
intense.
It's just somebody who had something really horrible happen with their family, and it hit them emotionally.
And I totally get it, but I'm like, oh my God, like it is theater, but like you were saying, it elicits all these feelings that usually just day to day won't, because we're so robotic in our lives that we just gotta function. When you're either watching a movie or theater, or reading a book, or reading poetry, or eating food that just makes you feel like, oh my God. Like, have you ever seen the movie like Water for Chocolate?
I love that movie.
To me, like food, I feel like I totally relate to
Perfect
that.
movie for you.
Yeah, because I really think that depending on how I'm feeling, my food would turn out a certain way because of how I feel. And when I'm having a bad day, I feel like the donuts don't look correct or well, or it just something gets fucked up. And I was like, God damn it, like snap out of it. And and I try. That's why I try to come from joy, because when I work from joy, I think the food that I make is also joyful, and I think that's what people feel most of the time. I think agree. Thank you. And I think they're great donuts on their own, but I think they're great because they're happily made.
Yes, I think that's totally true. I will always say that as much as I have my beloved little recipe book that my grandma passed on to me, and I love it so much, but like nothing turns out quite the way that she made it. No matter how perfectly I follow the recipe, it doesn't have that little something that just... It was just her essence, and that she put it. I'm very grateful, though, that she seems to have kind of like descended into my body as far as gardening. I've actually started to be able to start garden. I used to have, people have green thumbs, and I used to say I had a black thumb. Yeah. It would just kill everything. But suddenly, all of a sudden, now I'm like gardening. But with recipes, it's like I love them, and they still taste good. But
it's different.
It's just different. It was different the way she made it.
So you're gardening now. I love talking about, like I said, I love talking about sustainability. But let's focus on theater, because that's kind of where you're at. Like I always ask this of artists and creatives in general. Like, how do you sustain? Like, I mean, I know you talk about coming from joy, and you kind of lost it for a minute, and then you found it back through joy. I mean, anything else that you can say about how to sustain? Just being in this industry is hard too, right?
It is.
Like, it's very lucky that you're here on Maui, where there is a rich theater community here that, like, you found home, and you're able to do what you do best, and you're also serving in a nonprofit.
Do you know what's amazing is that I was actually going to answer with that that's actually how I was going to answer. I was going to say that because it's a role of service. And I think it's a constant learning opportunity, because I kind of feel like if you get to the point where you're not learning anymore, like, oh my gosh, just go ahead and why even bother keep going? Like
100%.
Just I always want to be learning, and I feel like I'm so fortunate to be in a role of service, and I feel like it's a really good. I always kind of joke that I mean, I got a healthy size ego. I'm on stage. I obviously think I'm decent at it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And
like
you're doing
I've got
it for
a healthy.
long time.
Yeah, exactly.
You
but
have
being
to
a role
feel
of
that way.
service is an amazing funnel for that. It's an amazing funnel for the talents that I do have, and it's a great way of getting better at the things that I want to get better at, and it's a constant, a constant lesson even in for myself of, I'll take some. It's very easy sometimes, particularly when you work in like customer service is a part of what you do a lot. When you run a theater, you're constantly interacting with the patrons. You're hearing things, and it's really easy sometimes to get like personally affronted by somebody telling you that you're not doing something as well, or that you could do something better, or that when somebody makes a suggestion. And it's been a wonderful learning opportunity of going, well, wait a second though. But I mean, I could do that better.
Yeah.
And I should feel so grateful that that person felt that there was enough of an open door here that they could express that and that I could do better. And not that I can change, not that I'm going to change to satisfy you can't please everyone all the time. But what you can do is really look at what they said and go, is what they're saying, is that aligned with the mission of this place? Is that a way that I can genuinely make the organization better? Is that going to help serve the community better? Or it's a beautiful opportunity a lot of times of opening up understanding, of having a conversation where maybe somebody is like, where somebody comes at you a little irritated and stuff. And I used to kind of be somebody who was like, come on, come at me. Like, and now I'm much more of a, no, okay, let me listen. I might not be able to react immediately because I need to process it for a little bit, but I don't always succeed, but I try really hard not to take it personally, because most of the time somebody's just expressing something that they need to get out, or it's coming from a fundamental place of misunderstanding. I find that very rarely is somebody actually like, are they really thinking something horrible about you? Or it's not about you most of the time. It's about where they're at. And
100%.
And when somebody does come at me from a certain point of view, a lot of times I'll just go, well, man, that person must be having a really crappy day that they're calling and they're this like upset about this thing or something. And what can I do to like make their day better? And because most of the time, if I leave an interaction and we're both ticked off at each other, well, then we're both having a bad day at the end of it. Whereas then if I can work through it and find the place and break down and go, oh, you know what? I completely understand where you were at. You know what? I'm going to improve that or this, or just going, oh, I think there might have just been a misunderstanding. Do you mind if I just take a second and just see if I can explain and get you to understand this? And then we both walk away feeling better and you feel lighter and you're not carrying around that bullshit from the day. So, no, I'm cursing. You're not carrying that bullshit around on your shoulders. Do you know what I mean? Like where you've taken that time. And I mean, man, it's a lot of work sometimes. And it's also that thing of, I think, particularly in this day and age where we're always trying to learn more and be more person-centered and more understanding, more welcoming of more people. Like, even if it's just, adapting our paperwork with regard to pronouns and things like that. And sometimes you can feel like at every step you're like tripping up and you're making a mistake and all that. But that's part of the point. That's part of learning and having that humility of going, I am occasionally going to not say something right or not do something. But I want to learn, and please help me learn, and tell me when I've done something so that I can do better next time, and so that I can strive to improve. And that's been such a rewarding thing. And I think that's such an important check to my personality, at least. I'm sure others would, some people would, but there's so many different ways of serving. And then serving the community in just those ways of presenting the platform and getting to work with people and hearing their perspectives on things that you never even thought about and stuff. And I'm sorry, I just went like rambled for a really long time.
I love it, because I like when you're saying like when you get to that position that you can actually serve. It's when it's something bigger than you.
Yes.
I think and I think it's natural. Like when you're starting out in anything, in any kind of industry, you have to improve yourself, your skills. You get to that point where like you said, now you feel comfortable. You must be pretty good. You've been performing most of your life. You know what I mean, since Santa Claus, and you know, but you know what I mean. Like, oh, we know you're amazing on stage, and you can do pretty much everything. Like I've seen you. You can sing, you can dance, you can
dance. I can sing and act, singing and acting.
But I mean, you're and a writer and a director. I mean, we can't deny that you have the talent, but after a while, it's like, how do you get past just you? And like you said, when it becomes, when you are in a position of service and you realize it's bigger than you, it's so much more fulfilling than just like, oh, like, let me get all the attention. Because I'm kind of going through that too, like the last 2 years where I started Donut Dynamite because I just wanted to express myself, right? And it's been fun. I built it, and I feel very fulfilled that I got some success from doing that. But then the past couple of years, since COVID, I was like, well, what else can I do that I can actually serve? Even the podcast, to me, it's like, it's not just about me. Like, I felt like, can I use this attention that people are giving me to kind of like funnel, like you're saying, to like other people, or the people that are doing something amazing that maybe people don't know about, or it's not their world, but they know about me, but I can like open that door for them to know more about it. Like, I get really, really excited about that. Like,
and I think so many things that are like where you think that they're about some, like when you approach almost anything from that position of, yes, you want to take care of yourself, like self-care, all that kind of stuff, but it's not about you. I mean, I find that like, being on stage, even if you're the lead, if you're not working with, like, even as collaborative art, you've got to be working with everyone else. You know, it's got to be something that is working in tandem. And directing. Yeah. I think directing is all about taking care of the people on stage. Absolutely. Like, it's all about figuring out how to get them to be able to be comfortable enough to make bold choices. Not, okay, comfortable is wrong. Confident enough. Because sometimes theater can be uncomfortable. You can get an uncomfortable thing. But you want them to be confident. You don't want, I think it's an amazing thing that since COVID shifted, that we're really looking long and hard with the Me Too movement, just so many things in the wake of everything with George Floyd. All of these things are really looking long and hard.
Things were brought up.
And there's so much more of a journey to go on. But I do feel like that a lot of industries stopped and looked and went like, look, we've got some really destructive systems in place, and that things like of putting in place in the arts of making it a supportive environment, of giving the opportunity. I love Kalani Whitford said it this way, of giving people the confidence to make the bold choices. That it's like, all this, there's a lot of teasing now in the industry about like intimacy training and intimacy direction with sex scenes, which we had to do a good bit of for Sex with Strangers. Yeah. But the beauty is if you actually know the boundaries of your partner, it actually gives you more freedom, because you now know, okay, well, they're not cool with, and you also have the language of, oh, hey, I've kind of discovered this boundary. Hey, do you mind if we don't do that? Yeah. But you've developed this confidence and this reciprocal communication, and it actually allows you to give a much deeper performance and get deeper performances out of your actors as a director.
And I think that's great that is a conversation now, because again, like, I feel like you're not protected if you're not in that space where you can communicate what you're okay with as an actor.
Exactly. And it's as in so many things. I feel like, this is the whole thing with now in so many industries, it's like workers are expecting to be paid a bit better and work a bit less, because people were worked too hard with too little pay for very long. And the same thing with our actors, of people have always been just that the expectation is you don't say no, you always say yes. And of course there is beauty in ambition, and there's beauty of being game and being up for things, but all within a healthy, it's gotta be within a healthy place. Yeah. And there's a way of balancing that, because of course there's also ways where the pendulum can swing where it can be too selfish, but honestly, the pendulum has swung so far on the other direction for so long. Yeah. It's a little healthy. We'll find a middle. If it goes a little that way,
we have to have the
we'll be all right. Like, we've got to let it swing over there so it can settle. Yeah. Sorry, a little of my Baltimore came out.
Okay, well,
I'm start saying water.
I'm just looking at the time, and I don't want to keep you so long because I know you have a really long week.
I'm just chatting.
But for a fun ending, just because I like happy endings, I do have a fun question. And it doesn't have to have anything to do with the show itself, but because of the title, Sex with Strangers.
Yes.
Sex with Strangers or Friends with Benefits?
Oh! Now that is an existential question. Madame, that is an existential question right there.
This is Madame After Midnight podcast. It's naughty. We like naughty podcasts. And we like to be slightly controversial because it's just a lot of fun.
I mean, why not?
Okay, yeah. So this is kind of like truth or dare kind of question, but
goodness. Okay, I'm hoping I'm not going to get in too much trouble. I think as with all things, there's probably a time and place for either. Is that an okay answer? I think there is a time and place. I think that whatever, as long as it is among consenting adults.
Correct, yes.
You do you. That's where I'm like, you do you. That's where I'm at. I'm all about the positivity and healthy. Yes. Consenting adults should be, I say, hey.
I thought it was a fun question.
It is a fun question.
Yeah. I think
an existential question.
Yeah, I love it. Well, anyways, like I said, I don't want to keep you and my battery's dying. So.
No, and what better way of going? The battery's dying.
Yeah, it just says that. So, anyways, well, thanks again for joining
having
me. And it's.
Do you mind if I give the little plug of where they can
Absolutely, please do. And actually, I was about to ask that because I'm going to do my little.
Oh, fabulous. So it's at ProArts Playhouse, ProArtsMaui.com, or 808-463-6550, and you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram.
It sounded like you just did a voiceover with that beautiful voice.
I can't help it. I go into it. The minute I go to say that stuff, I snap right into. Yeah. You can see us at ProArts Playhouse.
That's right. I love it. I am going to. But this weekend is the Encore Performances.
This weekend only. It's your only chance. There are some tickets left on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. We are not doing Saturday. It's a very strange thing, but we are not. But the 8th, 9th, and 11th. So
yeah, it's a really amazing show. I sat there and I just felt everything. It was really, really amazing. It's just one of those things that I feel like, gosh, like where am I? Like what you're saying, Maui's so full of talent, and I'm so glad to be around you and be inspired by you. And apparently I work with somebody who's like amazing. So it just reminds me how special Maui is. Just being around people like you. And I mean, we're so gifted. But anyways, thanks again for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Right?
This is
my God. And
what a great way to end the night, actually. I'm like, I'm going to sleep so well. This was so much fun.
Right, and any excuse to hang out and catch up, right?
Exactly.
I love that.
Look at that. That's 2 birds, 1 stone. I love
it. Well, thanks everybody. If you're watching us, if it's actually not frozen live, thank you for staying till the end of the show. But I will upload this show again if it didn't come through. But I will be back next week, normally on Mondays at 9:01 p.m. Thank you for watching us. Aloha.
Aloha.